Well, the herb that I wanted to talk to you about today is savory. Now, actually, savory has been used to flavor dishes in cooking for over 2,000 years, and it was actually one of the more aromatic and flavorful herbs available to the Europeans before world exploration and trade brought back more exotic spices such as black pepper. Now, when you talk about savory, there are actually two savories, and they're both in the same genus. We've got Summer Savory, which is Satigeria hortensis, and also Winter Savory, which is Satigeria montana. Now, there are a few differences between these plants. They are both in the mint family, so if you were to look at them, you would notice that they have the square stem that's common to the mint family. But if you look at them overall, you'll notice that the Summer Savory has a long, narrow leaf to it, and it has kind of a grayish cast to it. Now, if I hold up my Winter Savory here, you can see that the leaf, instead of being long and narrow, is actually a little bit wider towards the end of the leaf, and it also has a more dark green cast to it as opposed to the gray cast of the Summer Savory. Now, there are some other differences to it. One is the flavor. The Summer Savory has a milder flavor, a lot like thyme with a little bit of a kick, whereas the Winter Savory has a bit more of a piney flavor to it. Now, that's good to know when you're cooking, and you might try a little bit of each and see what kind of flavor you're looking for in the dish that you're making. One of the other differences is that Summer Savory is actually an annual, while Winter Savory is a perennial. Summer Savory actually grows to be about 1 to 1.5 feet tall. You can plant the seed in the spring. We actually started this seed in our greenhouse and then planted it out in our garden. Now, once the plant grows to be 6 inches tall, you can start harvesting this by just taking the tips of the plant off. You can just pull those off and use the leaves in dishes. Now, because it is an annual, it will want to flower on you. You can delay the flowering by pinching these tops off for quite a while and get several harvests that way. However, once this goes ahead and flowers, what you can do is cut the entire plant off at the base and lay this out on a screen to dry for about 2 days. You know, in a dry area, if it's humid, it may take a little bit longer. And then after it's dry, you can just remove those leaves from the stem and then store those in an airtight container. Now, Winter Savory, on the other hand, is a perennial. It is actually a semi-evergreen perennial, and it's not extremely long-lived. Usually every 2 to 3 years you'll have to replant this. However, it does overwinter outside in Oklahoma. Now, it will actually get to be woody at the base, and it only grows 6 to 12 inches tall. Now, this has actually historically been used as a small hedge in Tudor knot gardens or herb gardens, and it makes a very nice addition to both the culinary art garden and if you have a little formal knot garden in your yard. Now, in cooking with these, again, the Summer Savory has a little bit milder taste to it, and you can use that to season herbal butters, vinegars. Also use it with fish or poultry, any kinds of soups and things like that. It has that nice mild flavor to it. Also, a good way to use this is to add this to potato skins. Take a potato skin and put a little bit of cheddar cheese on there and chop up a little bit of savory on there and just bake those for about 7 minutes and see how you like that taste. Now, because Winter Savory has a little bit stronger taste to it, a lot of times it is a good herb to use if you're seasoning game meats that have a little bit stronger flavor to them. So just try a little bit of these and see how you like it. Now, if you want to plant this in your own garden, they pretty much have the same cultural requirements. They need well-drained soil, and they also need to be planted in full sun. Now, you will want to remember that the Winter Savory doesn't like to have a wet root zone. So you'll want to plant it in a place where it's got very light soil that drains out quickly, because usually what kills Winter Savory is having a wet root zone during the winter. They don't like that very much. So you might try planting both summer and winter savory in your garden and use it to spice up some of your dishes.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.